Having this pop of color under the dash or under the back seats just makes it a little more exciting to go wherever it is that you're going. Like, you're going there with purpose, you're gonna have fun, it's gonna be a good time, we're going out tonight, and you can have that every day of your life with the Profile Performance LED kit for your interior. This is the Interior Illumination kit. It comes with an RGBW remote control. It comes with two 12-inch flexible LED strips and all the wiring you need to make it work. I really like this kit for a few different reasons. Number one, these strips are super beefy and super bright. They're actually covered in this IP68 silicone covering, which means you can use them on the outside of your vehicle also. If you don't have a good place to mount them with zip ties, they come with this 3M double-sided tape on the back. So if you've got a clean, dry, flat surface, you can really mount these anywhere. Lastly, when these things are turned off, the circuit board is black, so they're way more stealthy than a lot of the options out there. And if you take a look at the wiring, nothing's getting in there. These things are bulletproof. The connection from the wiring to the PCB is super hardcore. It's inside of this clear carrier, and everything's covered in this braided mesh to make sure that even if you've got some rubbing or some pinching of some panels on the wiring, you're not going to have that failure that you might get from other kits on the market. In just a minute, we're going to show you how to do the install step by step on a truck. So skip ahead if you want to see that. Otherwise, keep watching because I'm going to go over every little piece that comes in the kit and what you need to know if you want to expand it into a bigger system. Regardless if you choose the prepackaged kit on the website or you want to build your own, or if you want to add parts to your own, I want to make sure that you know all the different parts and how they work together. First of all, you've got your strips. This is the 12-inch strip, part number LED 292. Then you have the 24-inch strip, part number LED 293. Next you have the extension. This long cord will plug in to each strip and go to the splitter that connects to the remote. This is part number H694. Next you have the splitter itself. This bare 4-wire connector with 4 JST splitters is part number H693. If you get the Profile remote, you're also going to need the CR2032 battery, which you can also purchase separately as part number LED155. The Profile Performance Prism Pilot Controller is part number LED760, and this is what the different connectors plug into. Now to power everything up, you're going to need to tap into your fuse box or connect wiring to your battery. You do that with one of the 3 power connections from Profile. This one is the mini fuse tap, part number WP324. If you have this type of fuse, you find an ignition or a battery fuse and you replace it with this. As you can see, one side has your power with the fuse tap and a ground terminal that goes to your battery or any grounding point, and the other side has a grommet and 2 bare wires that plug into the controller. If you have a micro fuse style vehicle, you're going to need part number WP329. It's the exact same thing, but it just has a different type of fuse tap. Here you can see the difference between the two. Make sure first you find out what type of fuses your vehicle uses and then get the right product. The mini fuse tap is part number WP324 and the micro fuse tap is part number W329. Now if you don't want to do a fuse tap at all, you can just do a hardwire kit. That's part number WP323. Instead of having a fuse tap, it has an inline fuse and battery terminal wiring. These are very easy to either connect directly to your battery or cut the ends off and splice into the power source of your choice. And on the other side, you have bare wiring that goes to the controller. Because the Profile Prism Pilot remote isn't waterproof, it's really important to install the driver portion inside the vehicle where it can't get wet. So let's do that first. Once you've found a good dry place to mount the controller, you're going to use a small Phillips screwdriver and take off the covers on either side. One side is going to have 4 connections that go to your LED strips, and the other side is going to have 2 connections for your battery or fuse box power. Now if you're doing a single color LED strip, you don't need this controller at all. You mount your strips, run power to a switch, and you're done. But if you're doing an RGBW setup like this from Profile Performance, we need to get power to this controller. So let's start with that. On the side with 2 connections, you can see that it's labeled positive and negative. So the first thing is to open those screws up and then take whichever power wire you're using, whether it's the battery connection or the fuse tap. In this example, on this truck, we're using the fuse tap. And you put the black wire into the negative section and the red wire into the positive section. It says DC positive for the red wire and DC negative for the black wire. Once you get those wires plugged in, go ahead and tighten these up. Make sure that they're nice and snug so that if you gently pull on the wires, they don't come out, but don't go too far that you strip it. Now with this cable connected, we can run to power, either directly to the fuse box, the battery, or some other positive and negative power source. On the opposite side of the controller, we have 4, and it's the same process. You just have to open them up and put the wires in according to their color. We have the red wire in the first position connected to R, the green wire in the second position connected to G, the white wire connected to the third position in B, and the black wire connected to the fourth position in V+. Other harnesses, instead of white, may have blue. In that case, it would be red, green, blue, black. Lastly, give it a little tug on each of the wires to make sure they aren't going to fall out. This connection and the power connection are going to be your 2 biggest pain points if you have issues with the system down the road. It's very easy that these small wires either don't get tightened enough, tighten too much and break, or they slide into a part of this assembly that's not actually holding it down and it doesn't make good contact. Tug on each one of these wires individually, very lightly, make sure it doesn't come out, and if it does, redo your connection. When you get your remote, if you want to, this is a carrier that you can either screw into something, Velcro to something, tape to something, and then your remote lives right in there like this. If you don't want that, you don't have to use it. You can just carry around the remote itself in your glove box or something like that. Next up is to connect your LED strips to your controller through this splitter. So the way this works is it gives you 4 outputs. This means that you can run 4 LED strips with this controller. If you do something that's close to your controller, you can connect it just like this directly to the controller. As long as your LED strip placement is near the controller, you don't need an extension. But if you run things further away from the controller and you don't want to splice your wiring, you can use that extension that we talked about earlier. It plugs in and then it gives you all of this extra wiring that will connect to your LED strip. You can do that 4 times and you can put these LED strips pretty much anywhere. Again, the way this works is step 1, pick your power. Either a universal battery terminal, a micro fuse tap, or a mini fuse tap. That harness plugs into one side of your profile controller. Step 2 is the splitter. This is the 4-wire connector with bare wires that plugs into the other side of the profile controller, and it has these 4 JST style connectors coming out of it. Step 3 is connect your strips to these 4 connections. Either use a splitter if you need extra length, or connect the strip directly to the controller if they are near each other. Then turn it on and see what happens. This is the Prism Pilot RGBW remote control from Profile Performance, and this is my favorite RGBW LED strip controller because it's a compact little design, it's practically bulletproof, and it does everything you need it to do without any cheap parts and without any extra bells and whistles nobody really wants. It'll do red, green, blue, white, and a multitude of different color changing patterns. If you want to do something a little bit more wild than this, our recommendation is the Morimoto XBT Bluetooth controller, where you can control rock lights, wheel ring lights, grill lights, interior lights, and more, all from the same controller. This controller is ideal if you're only doing a couple scenes, like your interior and your grill.
To install the Profile Performance interior illumination strips, first determine what voltage source you want to use to power the controller. You can use the fuse tap harness and tap into an existing fuse, or you can use the inline fuse harness to tap into an ignition power, a parking light power, or constant power. We chose to tap into the parking lights. To do this, remove the headlight switch. Now you can unwind your inline fuse harness, cut off the ring terminal, and strip back the wire. Next, strip back the OEM wire and splice in the fuse wire. Solder the joint and apply electrical tape to protect the connection. Reinstall the factory conduit and go over with electrical tape as well. Next, run the fuse harness through the dashboard down to the footwell. Find any bolt that is attached to the body of your vehicle for a ground source. Install the ring terminal over the bolt and reinstall it. Now you can reinstall the headlight switch panel. Now you can grab your Profile Performance RGB controller. Remove the side panels with a Phillips head screwdriver. Grab the GST adapter, loosen the 4 flathead bolts on the terminal of the controller and insert the wires. Tighten the terminals referencing the wire designated on the sticker. Reinstall the side panel, making sure to position the grommet correctly. Next, grab the wires from the fused harness and strip back the wires. Loosen the flathead bolts on the terminal and insert the wires. Tighten the terminals again, referencing the polarity according to the sticker. Don't forget to reinstall that side panel. It should look something like this. Next, grab one of your footwell lighting strips and plug it into the controller. Now grab your RGB profile remote. Open the battery tray and insert the battery with the positive terminal facing the back side of the remote. Next, press the power button on the remote. Be sure to test all the functions and colors. Depending on your vehicle, you can use either zip ties to mount the strips or use the 3M tape on the back of the LED strip. When installing these, be sure to keep the strip and wiring from interfering with foot pedals and the steering column. Remove any necessary panels to properly route the wiring from the passenger side footwell to the driver side footwell. Run the wires across and plug it in to test if the strip is working properly. For this side, we're going to use the double-sided tape on the back of the strip. Start by grabbing some isopropyl alcohol and wiping down the metal strip underneath the glove box. Remove the backing from the LED strip and attach the LED strip in place. Press down firmly to make sure you have good contact. Using zip ties, secure the remaining wires for an OEM finish.
There you have it, the best LED interior kit with the best strips, the best controller, and if you need help, the best customer service team in the industry. Give us a call or an email anytime and we will be glad to help you with this project. If you want to see what else you can do for the grille, for the undercarriage, rock lights, wheel lights, anything else for your truck, headlights and taillights, check out our other channel and go to headlightrevolution.com, put in your year, make, and model, and we'll show you what kind of lighting upgrades are available.